What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Power Play with CJ. Gonna get you guys all caught up on the going-ons, or my opinions on the going-ons in the NHL. Rather than break it into multiple pieces, I'll just let it roll and go from there. And we'll start with the two general manager vacancies. As of today, Lou Lamoriello is out in Toronto, and as of 20 minutes ago, Ronnie Francis is out in Carolina. We'll start with the Carolina situation. Leading off with the Leafs after they've been eliminated from the playoffs is such a Hockey Central at noon thing. I kid. I love watching it every fucking day. But I think you look at the Carolina situation, the ownership change. Doran seems to be a fucking moron. Peter Karmanos, I know he wasn't exactly Mr. Popularity at times, but I think he did an okay job. I mean, should there have been better hockey decisions made? But that's on the hockey people, not on ownership. The fact that they've kind of been irrelevant since winning the Cup 12 years ago. It is what it is. We'll see what happens down there. I know a lot of assistant GMs, Mike Fuda in LA among them, have turned down their overtures. They'll probably be stuck with Don Waddle, Atlanta Thrashers legend, calling the shots. And they've got the number 2 pick in the draft, so you can add a guy like Shvetnikov or Kachuk or whoever to that mix, and you've got some great young defensemen. I mean, they shouldn't have been as bad as they were this season. And see what happens. Obviously, Peters is out. There's a whole vacuum that needs to be power vacuum, if you will, that needs to be dealt with. They need a coach, general manager. They need a lot of things in Carolina. And I know there's going to be some cynical think about, they should go back to Hartford. That's not happening. But, again, just a back alley abortion of an organization. And then we go to a team that for many, many years was the epitome of back alley abortion. Oh, and Joe Nieuwendyk, just reading this out, Joe Nieuwendyk resigned as well. So, yeah. Just not good in Carolina. Joe Nieuwendyk was assistant GM and very well respected front office guy and Hall of Fame player and Stanley Cup champ, Cornell grad, all that shit. Going north of the border to a team that was the epitome of back alley abortions for many, many, many years, the Toronto Maple Leafs, as Lou Lamoriello is out in Toronto. I didn't like the fit with Lou there to begin with, and I know Leafs fans are going to be upset that I say that. He's too old school for a team like that. Making Thomas Plekanec shave his goatee, the young guys, Marner, Matthews, whoever, can't wear the high numbers, and it's just like, what are you trying to prove? This isn't the NHL you came into 30 years ago after you left Providence to take the Devils job. Like, it's a different league. The players hold more power. It's not the NBA in terms of where the players hold all the power, but it's closer to the NBA than the NFL, where the players hold literally no fucking power at all. Good luck if you have a life-altering concussion, but so the NHL isn't much better on that regard either. I think at times he was over-meddling. I think his fastball is behind him. And you say, oh, well, he built a great thing in New Jersey. Okay, cool. The last time the Devils won the Cup was 15 years ago. The players in this upcoming draft class were 3 years old. So, keep that in perspective. And again, if you want to go back to the no beards, no high numbers, no BS. Oh, it's just like the New York Yankees. Well, the New York Yankees, this is coming from a Red Sox fan, have one of the most unquestioned track records of winning and excellence in sports. If you're the New York Yankees, you can dictate those rules. If you're, also, I mean, not to knock what the Devils were, or not to knock what they're building in Toronto, but neither one of them is the New York Yankees. It's the old saying, you're Chitty Bang, not the fucking Beatles. So, again, I think Ron Francis is definitely a contender for that spot in Toronto, and I think he'd be a great fit up there. They came in Brendan Shanahan to do some great things together. I think he's actually more of a round peg and round hole than Lou was, and I think we'll see in Toronto that Ron Francis got the shit end of the stick in Carolina. It's unfortunate, but I think it's definitely a good fit. Are the moves related? I don't know. I doubt it. Did Francis tried to get his contract terminated when the Toronto job opened up? I don't know. I know he had been kicked downstairs by the new ownership in Carolina. It just wasn't a comfortable situation. But hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens on that front. Carolina has the number 2 pick in the draft. The Buffalo Sabres have the number 1 pick in the draft. Rasmus Dahlin. This is a franchise-altering defenseman they're looking for. And you look at Buffalo's luck in the lottery or lack thereof. I mean, any team that has Jack Eichel really can't bitch and moan and complain about not having luck with the lottery. But when the alternative is Connor McDavid, you gotta say, oh, shit. They were 2 lottery balls away from having Aaron Ekblad and Connor McDavid instead of Sam Reinhart and and Eichel, which, not to knock either one of those guys, but, you know, this, if you could have Ekblad and McDavid, you're taking Ekblad and McDavid. That's just the way it goes. But I think Dahlin, under the tutelage of Phil Housley, and I know Housley took some heat this year because the Sabres are just that bad, but, you know, I think he's going to be a good mentor for the young defenseman. I think he's definitely going to help his development. And, you know, I'm not that he needs a lot of help. I mean, if you've watched the kid play, he's fucking amazing. And I think, you know, him and Eichel as your number one defenseman, number one center going forward, you're in a really, really, really good situation. And then you got guys like the aforementioned Reiner, who I know is exactly Mr. Popularity with Sabres fans for whatever reason. You know, Nylander, Middlestat, you know, there's definitely a nucleus you can build around. And they got that other pick coming from San Jose, because I think Evander Kane's ended up re-signing there. So there's a lot of things in flux, and I think it's, I've been saying it for 5 years, but better days are ahead of Buffalo. And I think Rasmus Dahlin will definitely bring a new attitude to the Sabres blue line. And I think that's going to be, you know, a big thing that leads their turnaround that they've been talking about. It's like Philly. I feel like when in basketball with the process, it seems like the process in Buffalo's been going on just as long, if not longer, than the process in Philadelphia. And I guess, you know, to borrow basketball, I guess Eichel's Embiid and Dahlin is Ben Simmons. I don't know which way you want to go, but this is I mean, you look at the unanimous number one picks over the last few years. I mean, no one. There was some debate over Nico or Nolan Patrick last year. The year before, there was some debate over Line and Matthews. I'm sure some people, and that's not a knock on either player. Before that, obviously, it was McDavid, unquestionably at number one. Same thing with Ekblad in 2014. 13, there was, you know, between McKinnon, Seth Jones, Drouin, and Barkov, a lot of debate there. And obviously Yakupov the year before. So the last 6 or 7 years, you know, there's been 2 unquestioned number one picks. This is going to be the third one because he is fucking nasty, Mr. Dahlin. We'll talk about some other guys. I think Carolina, just spitball here, I think Carolina takes Andrei Shvetnikov. I like his game a lot. I think Brady Tkachuk ends up in Montreal. I think he's going to be a really good part of the Habs. And they love drafting Americans. The Habs future, and they have a big thing on drafting Americans for whatever reason. I think Philippe Zadina ends up with Ottawa at the number 4 pick. And the number 5 pick, the Arizona Coyotes. Gun at my head, I say they take Quentin Hughes, defenseman, University of Michigan, currently playing for the United States of America at the World Championships, or the upcoming World Championships. So, as for the Stanley Cup Playoffs, it goes without saying it's been another great year, fun and excitement, particularly as a Bruins fan, as they went down to Tampa in Game 1 and kicked some ass and looked to take a 2-0 series lead tonight. Just for the record, not to brag, but 7 of the 8 teams alive I picked to make it out of the first round. For some reason, I don't know why, I picked Minnesota over Winnipeg. That was not a great move on my part. But I'm going to roll with all 7 of my picks, with all 4 of my picks moving on. I got Washington beating Pittsburgh because the law of averages dictate that has to happen at some point. Nashville over Winnipeg, the Sharks over the Golden Knights, and obviously my beloved Boston Bruins taking down the Tampa Bay Lightning. You know, another thing I do like about this playoffs is the way they're cutting down on the bullshit. You know, you saw Hartman get suspended, you saw Evander Kane get suspended the other night. You know, there's no place for that in the game. Oh, well, let the boys police themselves. It's like, no, with, you know, head trauma and, you know, all these life-altering injuries, sometimes the authority figure is going to step in and, you know, do their fucking thing, do their job. And that's what they're doing right now in the playoffs. And, you know, 1 game suspension in the playoffs is no joke. You know, and it makes you feel, you know, to quote one of the great movies of all time, you feel shame letting your team down in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and especially with these non-hockey players. Like, Evander Kane had no reason to do that the other night. You know, it's stupid shit. It's not getting caught up in the flow of the game. It's making an asshole out of yourself. And, you know, I get that. I stand for Evander Kane, to borrow a hip millennial word. And, you know, I'm just, I like the change of scenery he's gotten in San Jose. I think he's been an excellent player for them. I don't think anyone will argue that. But he can't be pulling shit like that. And I think this next year will be Evander Kane's 10th year in the fucking league, and he's still doing this bullshit. There's still just, and this isn't coming from a guy that ride or die Evander Kane fan. But, you know, we'll see what happens with him in the next Obviously, he's back on the ice tonight in San Jose. As the Sharks look to take a 2-1 series lead. Just to go back to what else I said, I got Nashville and the Bruins in the Stanley Cup final, and the Bruins winning in 6 games. I know, the kid from Southie picking the Beast to win the whole thing. Absolute fucking shocker. So, guys, sorry about the lack of updates. It's been a crazy, hectic time in my life. Working on 2 books, helping to open a bar right now, which is always not as fun as drinking in a bar. And, yeah, life's just been insanely crazy. So, don't be afraid to follow me on Twitter, @PowerPlayWithCJ. I can answer all your questions over there, and sometimes I tweet funny shit and pictures of my dog. So anyway, that's all I got, guys, on this episode of Power Play with CJ. Stay tuned for more episodes throughout the playoffs and beyond. Later, guys.